What if I told you that 90% of men are accidentally repelling the women they want most? That every text, every compliment, every eager gesture is actually pushing her further away? You're about to discover the one principle that separates men who are chosen from men who do the choosing. This isn't about playing hard to get. This is about understanding the fundamental law that governs all human attraction. A law so powerful, it determines who leads and who follows in every relationship. There is a quiet law that governs every form of attraction. The one who desires least controls the rhythm. Machiavelli knew this, not from romance, but from the brutal theater of politics. Yet the principle is identical. The moment a man reveals desire, he hands over his power. The more he shows it, the more invisible he becomes. Watch a man in love and you'll see it. His eyes follow her like a servant chasing a crown he can never wear. His words become soft, his actions predictable. Every gesture says, "I am available." And availability, my friend, is the death of fascination. Because desire is confession. It tells the world, "You have something I need." And in that confession, authority dies. A man can have money, looks, intelligence, but once he begins to orbit someone else's approval, all of it fades. What remains is hunger, and hunger in the eyes of others looks like weakness. This is why those who chase are rarely desired. They are useful, yes, but never respected. The woman he pursues feels his need before he even speaks. His messages, his compliments, his eagerness, they carry a scent, the scent of desperation. And nothing repels faster than a man who needs to be chosen, Machiavelli would have said. To reveal your longing is to declare defeat before the battle begins. A prince who admits fear of losing his throne invites rebellion. A man who displays fear of losing her interest invites disinterest. You see, power and attraction share the same bloodline. They both belong to those who can withhold. But this is not about manipulation. It's about balance. When you are full within yourself, your attention becomes valuable. When you are empty, it becomes cheap. Every time you chase, you trade your inner empire for the illusion of affection. You tell the world, "I cannot rule myself, so I seek to be ruled by your approval." The tragedy is, most men think pursuit proves passion. They think chasing shows effort, but what it really shows is imbalance. A man truly anchored in purpose doesn't chase, he attracts. His silence, his mystery, his self-control, they do the speaking for him. He knows that every moment spent proving his worth to someone else is a moment stolen from his own ascension. Desire, when uncontrolled, exposes more than your interest. It exposes your emptiness. The same energy that could build a legacy is wasted seeking validation from someone who hasn't earned your loyalty yet. The energy that could be turned into creation, purpose, mastery is spent refreshing messages that never come. Ask yourself, when did kings ever chase? When did conquerors ever beg? They let others move toward their orbit. They understood the principle that every great seducer knows instinctively. People desire what seems unattainable, not because they love the person, but because they crave what that distance represents. Power, independence, self-possession. So the next time you feel that impulse to chase, to prove, to please, pause, look deeper. Is it love, or is it fear of being alone? Is it admiration or the need to feel significant? The answer will tell you whether you are walking toward power or away from it, because the truth is, the more you chase, the faster they run, and the less you move, the more the world begins to notice your stillness. So I'll ask you this, what happens when the one who always chased suddenly stops moving? Indifference. It's one of the most misunderstood powers in the world. Most men think it's coldness, a lack of care, a wall that keeps others out. But Machiavelli understood it differently. Indifference is not emptiness, it's control. It's the discipline of not reacting when others are testing you, watching you, measuring your worth through your emotions. The moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop performing for approval, the entire dynamic changes. The air around you shifts. People sense something they can't define. A calm dominance that doesn't beg, doesn't chase, doesn't prove. That calmness is what makes others curious. And curiosity is the seed of attraction. Because when you are indifferent, you're not detached from life. You're detached from need. You don't need validation, attention, or affection to feel whole. And in a world where everyone is desperate to be seen, the one who doesn't crave attention becomes magnetic. You stand out not by doing more, but by needing less. Look closely. The man who gives too much attention is always forgotten first. His affection is too easy to earn, too available to respect. But the man who is indifferent, he lingers in the mind. He makes people wonder, why doesn't he react? Why doesn't he need to impress anyone? That question becomes an obsession, because mystery is born where reaction ends. Machiavelli would say, "He who cannot control his emotions will always be controlled by someone else." Indifference is that control. It's the art of keeping your center steady when the world tries to shake it. When a woman tests you with silence, when opportunity tempts you with illusion, you remain unmoved. You do not chase. You observe. You allow others to reveal themselves while you remain a mystery. And here lies the paradox. When you stop giving away your energy, people start offering theirs to you. They want your attention precisely because it is rare. The less accessible you become, the more valuable you appear. Just as gold's worth comes from its scarcity, so too does your presence. Abundance without restraint loses meaning, but indifference sharpens your worth like a blade. Even in power, this law holds true. A ruler who reacts to every insult loses authority, but one who chooses when to respond, when to engage, and when to remain silent, that man commands respect without a word. Indifference, in truth, is a quiet form of dominance. It says, "I am not desperate for your attention, because I already have mine." And that's the secret. The world doesn't chase those who beg for recognition. It chases those who seem self-sufficient, untouchable, slightly out of reach. Because people don't just want affection, they want to earn it. And when your attention must be earned, it gains a currency no one can counterfeit. So the question becomes, how long can you hold your ground when the world tempts you to react? How long can you stay silent when your ego demands to be seen? Because indifference isn't about not caring. It's about caring only for what truly deserves your energy. And if you mastered that, if you could stand firm in a room full of people trying to make you move, what do you think would happen next? Every era has its illusion of strength. Some men chase wealth, some chase women, some chase fame, but all of it is noise when there is no purpose underneath. Machiavelli understood that power is not measured by what a man possesses, but by what possesses him. A man without purpose is easily distracted, easily swayed, easily conquered. He moves like a leaf in the wind, touched by everything, grounded by nothing. Purpose, on the other hand, gives weight to a man's presence. It is the invisible force that makes others pause when he walks into a room. They may not know what drives him, but they feel that something does. There's a direction in his silence, a certainty in his stillness. It's the difference between a candle flickering in the wind and a torch that lights the path ahead. When your purpose becomes clear, your aura changes. People sense it before you speak. Women sense it before you look. They feel that you are going somewhere, and that they can either join your journey or be left behind. And that, right there, is where attraction begins. Not in the chase, but in the movement. Not in attention, but in momentum. You see, when a man chases women, his energy scatters. He becomes a collector of moments instead of a builder of meaning. But when he channels that energy toward mastery, when he builds, creates, grows, the same energy that once made him desperate now makes him magnetic. Because people, especially women, are drawn to the current of progress. They want to feel that they are part of something becoming. Machiavelli would have called it the virtue, the manly spirit that bends fortune to its will. It's not arrogance and it's not aggression. It's the fire of intention. When a man embodies this, he doesn't chase recognition. He commands it by existing fully in his mission. Every word he speaks, every choice he makes, carries the scent of purpose. and that scent cannot be imitated. A man without purpose needs validation to feel alive. A man with purpose creates validation by how he lives. He doesn't measure his worth through affection or approval. He measures it by how close he stands to the vision he's building. That is why the world begins to revolve around him. People want to be near the energy of someone who knows where he's going. And here's the truth few will admit. Purpose is seductive, not because it's loud, but because it gives shape to silence. The man of purpose doesn't fill every pause with words. His presence already speaks. He doesn't seek attention. He simply draws it without effort. The difference is spiritual, not social. Women do not fall for the man who tries to impress them. They fall for the man whose direction impresses them. They don't follow charm, they follow certainty. They crave the safety of knowing that his life has meaning beyond them, that even if they walked away, his path would remain unchanged, because a man ruled by purpose cannot be ruled by desire. So ask yourself, when someone looks into your eyes, do they see a man seeking distraction, or a man driven by destiny? Machiavelli once wrote that power does not belong to those who are everywhere, but to those who know when to appear. Controlled presence is not about withdrawal. It is about precision, the ability to move like a shadow, revealing yourself only when it serves your advantage. Most men believe that visibility is influence, but Machiavelli knew that true influence begins the moment people start wondering where you've gone. The tragedy of modern men is overexposure. They give too much of themselves, too soon, too easily. They text endlessly, explain constantly, post their every thought, their every feeling. In their attempt to be understood, they become predictable, and predictability kills fascination. What makes a person unforgettable is not their constant presence, but their controlled absence. When you are always available, your value becomes ordinary. But when you appear with purpose, when your words are rare, your actions deliberate, every moment of your presence becomes heavy with meaning. You turn silence into tension. You turn waiting into longing. And longing, not abundance, sustains desire. A Machiavellian man understands that control is not in the act of showing up, it's in knowing when not to. He doesn't vanish out of fear or retreat. He withdraws to create space, space for mystery, space for others to question their hold on him. When a man pulls back not out of insecurity, but out of intention, he reverses the dynamic. Suddenly, others begin to chase the connection he once gave freely. Women, like the court of Florence, were drawn not to the man who begged for their favor, but to the one who left them guessing, the one whose attention came unpredictably, like lightning in a clear sky, because unpredictability feeds imagination, and imagination is far stronger than attention. What people imagine about you will always hold more power than what you actually reveal. Controlled presence is not ghosting, it's strategy. It's the discipline to resist the urge to constantly prove your care or your interest. It's the awareness that presence loses meaning when it's constant. A king who is always seen loses the awe of his crown, but a ruler who appears rarely at precise moments keeps his people in a state of reverence. And here's the paradox. The less often you are seen, the more memorable you become. The less you speak, the more powerful your words sound when you finally do. Every message carries weight. Every look becomes a signal. Every silence becomes a question. And questions keep you alive in the minds of others far longer than attention ever could. Controlled presence is the art of tension, not to manipulate, but to preserve energy and respect, because presence without purpose drains your mystery, and mystery is the language of influence. It says, you cannot predict me, you cannot possess me, and therefore you cannot forget me. So consider this. What happens when you stop giving everyone access to your time, your thoughts, your energy, and begin to appear only when it truly matters? There is a moment in every man's life when he realizes he has been living in reverse. He's been taught to pursue, to chase, to convince, to believe that his worth is determined by how much he can win the approval of others, especially women. But Machiavelli would have called this the greatest illusion of power. The more you chase something, the more you declare that it is above you. The true prince never runs after loyalty or love. He stands still and makes others prove they are worthy of his attention. Becoming the prize does not mean arrogance. It is not about ego or superiority. It is about reclaiming balance, reminding yourself that your attention is the kingdom everyone is trying to enter. And if you give that kingdom away freely, what remains for anyone to value? When you become the prize, your time, your energy, your presence become rare currencies. They are no longer handed out like favors. They must be earned through consistency, respect, and alignment. The man who is the prize moves differently. He does not beg to be seen. He knows that his absence is noticed. He does not fight for attention. He allows curiosity to do the work for him. He does not prove his worth through pursuit. His worth is already defined by how he carries himself. And because of that, people compete for his validation, not the other way around. Machiavelli understood that perception is the foundation of all power. If others perceive you as needing them, they will control you. But if they perceive that you are content without them, they will begin to seek your approval. It's not manipulation, it's nature. The human mind chases what seems difficult to possess. It craves what cannot be easily owned. And the moment you stop seeking to belong to others, they begin to seek belonging with you. Think of the lion. He does not chase the gazelle. He waits. His stillness radiates dominance. Every movement is measured, every glance intentional. He knows his value, and because of that, the entire jungle reacts to his presence. The same truth applies to men. The world bends toward those who move with purpose and restraint, the ones who act from abundance, not desperation. Becoming the prize means your self-worth no longer fluctuates based on who desires you. You define yourself through your growth, your discipline, your mastery. You build your world so firmly that anyone entering it feels they must rise to meet your standard. That's what draws people in, not your chase, but your command of yourself. And here lies the quiet irony. Once you become the prize, you no longer need to be chosen. You no longer need to convince anyone to see your value. Because value that is visible does not need to speak. It radiates. It's felt in your silence, your decisions, your direction. You stop moving toward validation, and validation begins to move toward you. But here's the question that lingers. If tomorrow you decided to stop chasing, to stop proving, to stop begging for what you already deserve, who would start chasing you? In the end, everything returns to one simple truth. The world mirrors the man who commands himself. Machiavelli never spoke merely of politics. He spoke of psychology, of human nature, of the delicate balance between desire and discipline. When you stop chasing women, you are not rejecting love. You are reclaiming your throne. You are taking back the power that was quietly drained from you every time you sought validation outside yourself. Desire reveals powerlessness. Indifference creates value. Purpose turns silence into magnetism. Controlled presence builds mystery. And when you master these, you no longer seek to be chosen. You become the choice. Every glance, every silence, every movement begins to carry authority. Not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. When a man stops chasing, he doesn't withdraw from the world. He makes the world come to him. The energy that once scattered in pursuit now burns with direction. The same hunger that made him desperate now becomes the fuel for mastery. And people, sensing that shift, begin to orbit around him, drawn not by his words, but by his energy, by the quiet gravity of a man who no longer kneels before anything but his own purpose. Machiavelli would say that fortune bends to those who command themselves. The moment you stop needing others to see your worth begins to define what others see. You stop moving through the world like a seeker and begin to move like a sovereign, not chasing crowns but wearing one in silence. So remember this, power is not taken. It is reclaimed. The moment you stop chasing women, the whole world begins to chase you.